A silent partner in Putin's aggression, Xi Jinping's China is our greatest challenge, in many ways the most profound test that CIA has ever faced.
CIA Director William Burns calling out China. The spy chief says President Xi is a silent partner with Vladimir Putin in the war against Ukraine, warning Beijing tops the list of challenges facing the agency. Wisconsin Congressman Mike Gallagher is a member of the House Intelligence and Armed Services Committees. I know that you listen to Director Burns, and he doesn't speak very often. He gave a speech yesterday. He chose this topic and to say that China is a silent partner in the war against Ukraine. What did you make of him deciding to come out and say that now?
Well, I'm glad that he did, and Director Burns is right, except it isn't a silent partnership. Prior to the invasion of Ukraine, Xi and Putin signed a 5,000-word statement proclaiming a partnership without limits. So Putin is merely becoming Xi's sadistic sidekick in this new Cold War that they have launched against the West, and he will only grow more dependent on China the more he experiences setbacks in Ukraine. So the lesson for us is at least twofold. One, we need to recognize who we are dealing with, two, brutal dictators that want to destroy the West. And secondly, we need to wean ourselves off of our addiction to cheap Chinese manufacturing. You know, Dana, we've been scratching our heads throughout the Ukraine crisis, wondering how the Europeans could have gotten themselves into a position where they're so dependent on Russia for basic energy resources. Well, we've done the same, except with different goods in terms of our dependency on China. So if we're to have a chance of winning this competition, we need to selectively decouple our economy from China before it's too late.
So when the CIA director says this, you would imagine that this is probably something that the entire National Security Council talks about, right? So do you think, from your position on those committees, that the Department of Defense is an agreement? I believe that, from what they've said, I believe that they are, is the State Department as well, because they all have to be in coordination in order to lead the country in that direction.
Well, both the Department of Defense and the State Department have said rhetorically that China is our biggest long-term competitor, but at least in terms of the Defense Department, they've recently downgraded some of the language they've used, not calling China a threat in terms talking in terms solely of economic competition. So that's worrisome. I think the bigger problem with our strategy so far is that the Defense Department seems to be pursuing a strategy, what they're calling integrated deterrence, where they're relying less on hard power, actual lethal American hard power, and more on so-called soft power, whether it's sanctions or hashtag diplomacy. That would be a massive, massive mistake. The second contradiction is on our energy policy, which is totally incoherent and is actually benefiting both Putin and Xi. And there is no way we can compete effectively with the Russians or the Chinese if we pursue this war on domestic energy production.
And the CIA chief also saying that we cannot take lightly that Russia has nuclear weapons and Vladimir Putin could use them. I also wanted to ask you about this because we've seen high-profile leaders like Boris Johnson, for example, going to Kyiv to walk the streets with President Zelensky. Yesterday, President Biden was asked if he would go. Watch.
Will you send senior officials to Ukraine?
Well, we're making that decision now. Thank you.
Who would you send?
What was the reason? You ready to go?
Is he ready to go? Well, here's what Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said about that.
He's ready for anything. The man likes a fast car, some aviators. He's ready to go to Ukraine. It's true, he does. We are not sending the president to Ukraine.
Do you think the president should go to Ukraine?
Well, at a minimum, I think the Secretary of Defense should go to Ukraine. And I would add to that, I think we should reopen our embassy in Kyiv. The fact that we keep abandoning embassies around the world suggests that we are in a weak position. I think the Biden administration could send a stronger signal by both reopening the embassy and sending Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to Ukraine. As for the president's aviators, I don't think they're striking fear into the heart of any enemies around the world.
Wait, Congressman, why is the State... it's a great point about the embassy. Has the State Department said why they are dragging their feet on reopening the embassy?
I haven't seen a coherent explanation. I know my colleagues on the House Foreign Affairs Committee have asked that question. But again, I think it gets to the broader problem with our approach to Ukraine, which is from the start we've been reactive and we've also been afraid of provoking Vladimir Putin. Well, now that the Ukrainians are showing with their bravery, with their ingenuity, that they can win this thing, that should give us confidence that we can go back on the offensive. We can have success on the battlefield without needlessly provoking Putin. We can't allow fear to dictate our actions.
Congressman, thank you, and a happy Easter to you and your young family. Thank you so much.
Happy Easter.